I never thought this day would come. The day where I'm actually faced with an upgrade to the Classics Seeker mold. I made a whole video just appreciating the Classic Seeker mold because I felt like it was under threat of being replaced. Because I love the Classic Seeker mold. I love the jet mode, the robot mode's pretty good. It's definitely old. It definitely shows that it's a toy from 2006. But it's a good robot. It's a good, fun toy, albeit maybe fragile in a couple places. And I have had the Classic Seekers in my Classics collection, all of them, all three of the main ones and all the cone heads, and I had the Acid Storm too, none of the exclusive repaints, I don't care about those. I had all those in my Classics collection for the longest time. The Siege ones didn't tempt me to replace them, but Earthrise Starscream, man. You know how long it's been since I've bought a G1 styled Starscream? Pretty much ever since I got him, I haven't bought another one. Like, I don't have a lot of G1 Starscreams. But I saw the Earthrise one in Target. And the reason why I got it is because it takes from the Classic Seeker and modernizes it to 2020. 14 years later. Because, see, this thing's, it's a good figure, but look at the hinges on the elbows. I mean, its lack of neck, the fact that the nose cone is attached to the head, it's outdated. This is bothering me. I hate when people have the freaking hollowness showing. I don't know why. Anyways, this is articulated. The sculpting is beautiful. And it's the Earth Jet mode. And the transformation is heavily inspired by the Classics. So I thought long and hard. Am I going to take if each figure is $30 each, am I going to take the $180 hit to rebuy all 6 of the main Seekers? Just in bigger, just Voyager and modernized. And I said yeah, because I felt like I could have nice robot modes for all these. All the new ones, all the Voyagers are probably going to do. And I can have all my old ones in their beautiful, beautiful jet modes. That's what's justifying me in making this very big financial decision to upgrade all of my Seekers. Damn it, Hasbro. Now, granted, though, we've had these for like a decade. Now, I started collecting in 2012. I had them for like 8 years. Still a long time. But, I mean, it's been so long. I see the need for an upgrade and for a new G1 Starscream to be put out into the market. I understand this, and I respect this. I still love the old mold, but it's old. It's old. So in today's old versus new, we're going to talk about the old Classic Starscream yet again, one more time. I already did a whole video on this mold, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But I'm pretty much going to cover all the bases again. So as you can see, the nose cone is attached to the head, which is interesting. That's just how that works. The articulation, you can see the swivel at the head there. He has those are just kind of, loose flaps. So you kind of have like a bit. It actually kind of helps with some poses. Like you can see right there, you can actually get his hands on his hips. Sort of, maybe, if you work it right. There you go. Even though he doesn't have a bicep swivel. Because of that kind of inner hinge, you can do that. Those come out very easily on pretty much every version. Like I said, no bicep swivel, but you do have a hinge at the elbow and a hinge at the hand there. Nothing at the waist. The legs can move forward. They're on ball joints. Keep that in mind. Knees can hinge, and then ankles can just move up like that. And that's your articulation. You can move the wings back a little bit, but they get in the way when you try to, keep this in mind. You point the null rays forward, and the wings have to bend down. Keep that in mind, seriously. So, look-wise, it looks good. It's G1 Starscream. Getting in close, I love the gunmetal face. This is the Universe repaint, by the way. It's not the original Classics. It's the Universe, which is way more G1 accurate. So it's a fairer comparison to the G1 accurate and faithful, Earthrise. So, yeah, it looks good. I love the colors. They're nice and vibrant. He looks nice. I like the paint on the little winglet there. The wings themselves have nice silver paint. Nice little Decepticon purple emblem. Look at that. There really isn't much else to say. I've already gone over the articulation. We all know this mold. It's a good mold. It's a good figure. So then, 14 years later, a new challenger approaches. Earthrise Starscream. A lot of surface detail. There's a lot of surface detail on this guy. But it's not overwhelming. I don't feel overwhelmed by all the detail. It looks good. Still looks faithful to G1. It's nicely detailed and everything. But it's just so much more improved. But you can see, look at that. Like, even look at that little panel right there. Look at all this. This is basically the classics. And I'm so down for that. I love it. So, interesting improvements to note. The head is no longer attached to the nose cone, so that's a very big plus. The wings, if you want to move the null rays forward, not only is there enough space to not have to worry about that, I mean just period, but also the wings can hinge back. So even if you're kind of limited on shelf space and you can't have all the wings covering other characters, you can just fold them back. I love that. Because see, with the classic Seekers, you always have to worry about the wings. So you always have to like have them perfectly spaced out so they're not covering each other up. So I love that improvement. The articulation is way better. You get a ball joint at the head now. You still have the universal hinges at the shoulders. Unfortunately, though, that kind of inner joint is kind of seized up in there. It's kind of locked. But if you kind of untab it, you can get it working. But you can see it's kind of making gaps and everything. So that has been tabbed in, but it feels more solid now. You do have a bicep swivel nowadays, so you don't have to worry about that. The elbow is kind of... It's pretty much just on a single hinge, but it does kind of have like a little bit extra. It's a little more 90 degrees, and I respect that. That can do that if you need to. Nothing at the swivels for the wrist, unfortunately. You can flip that piece up, but unfortunately no waist swivel just because of the transformation. But hey, you know what? It's okay. I don't feel like that's a critical point of articulation. But the legs, because of that, can move all the way forward. And they're on universal joints. One thing I love about these new collector line Transformers is that they're getting rid of the ball joints. I don't like ball joints on Transformers. But you do have a bicep, a thigh swivel. It's supposed to just be a single jointed knee, right? Just a single joint. But if you untab it, you can actually kind of get a little extra. But you can see that's supposed to tab into the knee. But, I mean, the transformation hinge is solid enough, but I just kind of wish I would tab in a little better, because see, you start bending it, and then it just comes undone. But hey, it's up to you how you want to work with that. Then the ankles, you can still hinge them down, which is nice, but you have pivot! And I love how these wings, which they've replaced the silver with white on this, which I think looks fine. I think that looks fine. But I love how those actually bend with that. I love that. So... Getting in on some of the closer details on him, I love the head. I think there might be a screaming variant that's coming out, but I like this neutral face. It kind of reminds me of the newer Masterpiece version. Well, I say newer, it's been around for a long time. It does kind of remind me of that. Unfortunately, the wings don't really tab in their upward position, but I mean, the hinge is tight enough, but I love that articulation there. The detail just looks great, man. Look at that. That's Starscream. One issue I do kind of have, I don't like the separation of the panel right there to the chest. It just kind of bugs me. But I like that piece. It covers the nose cone and makes it look smaller and more G1 accurate. I really like that piece. So yeah, there's the Earthrise. Gone over everything we need to go over. Let's transform this one. So it's not too difficult, but then again, I'm always kind of scared because this mold suffered from mold degradation, which means they reused it so much that it... Why do people gotta be driving so fast? Where are you even going, man? Everywhere's freaking closed right now. But not really yet in Ohio. Even though by the time this video goes up, I don't know what's gonna happen with all that stuff. And then years from now, if people are still watching this, they're gonna be like, what are you even talking about? And I'm gonna be like, hey, remember that thing that was going around? And you're gonna be like, oh yeah. Anyways, one interesting thing to note with the old one is that you just push in the legs. You just push them in. They had a slider, which I think that worked fine. But Hasbro doesn't like using that anymore, so you will see a difference in the Earthrise version. So then you get that. And then the last thing, which scares me, I hate how those have to hinge up. It's just kind of scary. I hate how these hinge. I've heard about these breaking. Then you have to kind of flex the plastic a little bit to get them tabbed in. I'm not even joking. You have to make sure the arms aren't getting in the way. And then you can see, look, even the spacing there isn't right. And then you get these hinged down. And you can see they get fragile and they crack and they break. I super glued mine. But they might want to break again. So yeah, there we go. There is the jet mode. Soft nose cone right there. You do have landing gear. You can flip out from the chest, and you can pop in the null rays into the wings. So that's appreciated. But yeah, there's a jet mode. It's a beautiful jet, and I can't wait to display this along with the other Seekers somehow. You can kind of stand it up too if you want it displayed like that, which I appreciate. Yeah, it has the round thrusters. Transformation's nice. I like this jet. It's good. Look at that. It's beautiful. But anyways, there's the classics one. Let's transform Earthrise. Let's see the similarities. So you do have to still pop those off, unfortunately. But hey, they're weapons. You can kind of forgive it. And then you have to kind of open up the arm. And I always you have to open up like that. And then you hinge. Well, you have to actually make sure that piece right there gets into the hole where the arm goes. Then you close it back up. And then you flip the hand in. And you just collapse the arm like that. So it's interesting. Very interesting transformation for the arm having to shrink. But you know what? It's different, and I appreciate that. So the legs also are different because now it's kind of like a Combiner Wars style hinge to go up. You have to make sure that's up too. You just kind of hinge that up. Then you reclose it. God, freaking stay where I put you. Then you tab them together, and then, interestingly, does kind of have a different style of thruster in the back now. But hey, you know what? I kind of like the look of this. Then these go up, go into place, hinge those down. I'm not worried about them breaking. And one nice thing is that the ankle tilt, look at that. You don't have to worry about the plastic flexing because the ankle tilt actually serves as the flex for that. So I really appreciate that. And you get that tabbed in. There we go. Maybe. Well, anyways, let's keep going. So then you untab the chest and then get that out. Then look at this. This is so freaking classic. And one thing I like, look at that. Look at that recess in there. You see what that is? That's probably enough space for a cone head. So we don't have to worry about the whole nose cone being the head for the cone heads. So then you just do that just like the old classics. Then you get these flipped in just like the old classics. Then you get that flipped back down just like the old classics. And then the wings, flip them down. Finish the job. Oop. One interesting thing, looks like, look at that. It's kind of just a mushroom peg there. So you don't have to worry about this breaking like the old one. Because I've heard about those hinges breaking on the old one. So hey, they took tolerances into account with this. Like I said, modern engineering, they know what they're doing. And then landing gear wise, you don't really have anything, I don't think. That looks like landing gear, but it's not. It's actually the hinge. So that doesn't have to be attached to the head. It looks like landing gear, but it's not. So I don't really think there's any landing gear option for this. I haven't seen any. You just have those, and it just kind of rests on the gray, which is fine. And then you get the null rays. You have plenty of places to put them. You can put them on the legs. You can keep them on the forearms. But let's just put them on the wings there. You can also put them on the back. And then unfortunately, it is kind of ugly, but you do have a hole right on the top if you want to put anything there. So it does kind of break up the look of the jet. But look at that, man. A lot of surface detail, just like the old one. Looks beautiful, looks gorgeous. Some differences, as you can see. No rubbery tip, actually. It's a plastic tip on this one. I really like the cockpit on the new one, too. Reminds me of an old G.I. Joe jet. Look at that, man. This is a worthy upgrade, in my opinion. I think Earthrise has done an excellent job making a new Starscream for the market. I like the gray, the grayish white. I like that color a lot. I like the size, because I think Starscream should be bigger than just a deluxe. This is the Starscream to get. The jet's great. I can't wait for all the repaints. I'm willing to do it. But gotta give it to the classics for just being such a revolutionary toy. It perfected the transformation. Well, it revolutionized the transformation. This kind of perfected it. Even though, as you can see, it doesn't have less kibble. It still has a lot of the robot just kind of hanging out down there. But, I mean, it's a little more streamlined. It's a little more, it kind of fills out that big old gap in the middle with the hands being there. But you still have that big old thing, the big old hoop on the bottom there. It's funny how you hold it by the wing and the wing droops. But yeah, I definitely recommend the new one. I also recommend the old one if you're just a fan of Starscream or you still like that old Seeker mold. But if you're just getting into Transformers collecting, don't worry about going back and getting this. Just get the new Earthrise ones. Just do me a favor and get those. Anyways, guys, there's my old versus new on Starscream! Air Commander Starscream of the Decepticon Battle Fleet! I love Starscream. I love voicing Starscream. I'd love to voice Starscream one day. Alrighty, guys, there we go. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Check out my social media links, P.O. Box address, and frequently asked questions down in the description below. Have a good day, guys, and I will see you in the next video.